Hey everyone, this is Chantal Gerardy from Online Business Marketing, and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways, well, 5 things that you can do, 5 fixes really, that you can do over this holiday period if you wish to utilize this holiday period for optimizing your website. Use these 5 fixes to go over and optimize your website for 2026. Often we work reactively throughout the year. Hopefully, those business owners who work with me don't work reactively, they work proactively so that it doesn't get to the end of the year and suddenly you've got a website that is bolted together or duct tape. But if that is the case, it is a good idea at the end of the year to spend this time looking at it when you've actually got thinking space. I think it's more about the thinking space than anything else. When you've had a little bit of a rest and you're not having to service clients and you're not working as much, you just have more capacity just to look over your own stuff and go, oh, that's not really relevant anymore, that's a bit outdated, or that could really do with a bit of a cleanup. So I'm going to go with over 5 of those things today, and quite thoroughly. In fact, this entire hour masterclass has ended up being a 12-page printout. So let's see how we go. Um, but it was supposed to be 5 fixes, 5 pages, but yeah, ended up being 12 pages because I wanted to make sure that we were looking at some more advanced strategies, not just like baby strategies, because I know that the business owners who work with me will have the foundations and the fundamentals in place. It's more a case of what more can we do? And we're going to go into that a little bit today. So you can use this time, for that health check. So not just SEO, which we are going to talk about, but looking at more important things like call to actions, lead magnets, hooks, and looking at your nurture sequences as well. And then, of course, looking at your mobile experience and your desktop experience, which is then also looking at font sizes and trust signals and things like that, which are really going to help you then start 2026 on the front foot, not on the back foot, right? Um, cool. I think the most important thing and the most important thing about this whole thing is that your website captures leads. Like your website's entire role is to be able to get leads. So you've got to go out and get traffic on social media, ads if you wish to, gamble on ads, but your website is where everybody lands and that's where they make their decisions. So I think what happens is people have websites made and then they kind of go, do that another time and figure that out. And they kind of just leave their website. But websites are so, so important. And being user friendly is so incredibly important. And being customer relevant is so important. And being easy to navigate is so important. So we feel like we're always working on our website. Our website's an ongoing weekly, definitely weekly, if not weekly, fortnightly thing that we are doing. It is in all our implementation plans for ourselves and our VAs. And we're constantly looking at our sales pages and we're looking at the analytics and we're looking at what's working and not working, because that is where lead capture happens. So its whole role is to capture leads, and that's what I want for you for 2026 is more leads. Who wants more leads for 2026? Everyone does, right? So if you've invested all this money in a website, you have to make sure that it's not band-aided or duct taped together. If it is band-aided and duct taped like an afterthought, it's never, you can understand, it's just never going to perform like it should. So working on and optimizing it is absolutely fundamental. So if you feel like your traffic is good to your website, and but you feel like you're just not getting inquiries or sales and subscribers, the reality is that it could be your website that's basically stopping all of this from happening right now. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw people under the bus right now. It's often business owners who manage their own websites. It's often people who invest in website people progressively over time, because then they put one thing on and then they put another thing on and they put another thing on. But nobody's actually, when you put those things on, they don't actually integrate it with the rest of the website because it now becomes a bolt on. And of course, with VAs as well, it can take a bit of time for them just to understand the customer journey and the buyer's journey to make sure that all of that is in flow. All right, so the good news is you can do something about it. And what can you do? Well, it's really easy. You can apply these 5 fixes. So fix number 1 is making sure that every page on your website has a clear SEO focus and goal and a consistent layout. Okay, so SEO focus, goal, and consistent layout. That is the foundation for your website. So if every single page should be completely clear what it's about, what it's for, and if it looks visually messy and all over the place, the user's not going to do anything. The viewer is not going to do anything. So each page should have one primary SEO keyword or topic and one primary goal. Okay, so as an exercise, this is a great exercise. Go through all your website pages and go, what is my primary topic? And then link that to an SEO keyword. And then the second one is, what is my one primary goal? Meaning, what do I want the next step for the visitor to be? Like, what is their next step? And make sure that that's clear. So example themes would be on a homepage, it could be life coach for women, life coach Gold Coast, online life coaching for burnout. Remember, we don't want it to be cryptic. It is what it is, and it is the language that your customers would be using to search what they are doing. An e-commerce would on a category page could be organic skincare for sensitive skin, eco-friendly homewares for Australia. Then in the back end, you have to make sure that you've got header 1, which clearly states the main topic. So H1 is heading 1. It uses the keyword of that heading. And then H2 and H3 is you using supportive keyword-rich phrases and common questions. Now, this is what happens, and I'll throwing people under the bus. It's the same as if you get an SEO person. An SEO person will make it really good and SEOable, but then it might not be customer friendly. So you'll read it and go, that's not nearly sexy enough. For your ideal customer because it's so SEO. So what you're trying to do is try and get the mesh together between SEO and still captivating or qualifying and compelling your audience. Then you want to make sure that the body copy is staying on topic and it speaks directly to the target audience. And I always say this, connection, speak directly to them, use practical examples. Don't just say stressed and overwhelmed. Say you wake up every day feeling like this because of this reason. So show them you know them, use practical examples. And then when you're in the back end of the website, you've got to make sure that the meta titles and descriptions are a summary of the page and they are using your primary keywords and the benefit. Now, this shits me because sometimes if you've got a web developer doing this or you've got a virtual assistant doing this, some of you may never go in and actually check this, but they may not be doing the H1, H2, H3, and they may not be doing the meta title and description. Then they may not be actually using titles for the images as well. So it is important for business owners, if you do have hope and if you help, if you do have hope, you do definitely need hope. But if you are getting help, you make sure that you go in and you do check it at some point and you've got an understanding of at least what needs to happen. And then, of course, you've got to make sure you've got primary call to actions. So what is relevant to that page? What is the relevant next step? So how do you find those SEO keywords? Well, business owner or the virtual assistant firstly needs to know the language that the ideal customer is using. So that's really important. So you need to be listening for that, and reading testimonials is a great way to do that as well. But you want to list the words your ideal clients use to describe their problem and their desired outcome. So what are the words they use to describe their problem and the desired outcome? So for example, it might be overwhelmed mum life coach, help with anxious child without medication, or it might be eco-friendly gifts in Australia. So the second way that you can search for SEO words is to use Google itself. So you can type the base phrase into Google, and then there's a section that says, look at autocomplete suggestions. Look at autocomplete suggestions. Then you can scroll and check people also ask and related searches at the bottom. So that will give you what people are actually searching, the words they're actually using, so you can incorporate it. Now, don't forget, you've also got answerthepublic.com. Then you want to check your own data. So for example, as I mentioned before, that is Google reviews. If people are leaving Google reviews, they'll say, I was feeling like this and now I feel like that. So you can, in your Google Search Console, you can also have a look at what phrases are bringing impressions and clicks. So in your Google Search Console or in Google My Business under performance, you can have a look at the words people are searching for. So for example, a lot of people are still searching Chantal Gerardy rather than online business marketing, which means we have to include Chantal Gerardy in our content so that we rank. And in Google Analytics, you can review the top pages and the search queries, and that is only going to happen if you've set up your Google Analytics. Number 4 is using keyword tools. They are optional, but they are helpful, and there are free or low-cost ones like Uber Suggest or Keyword Planner, or you could look at more pro keyword tools like SEMrush. What we do recommend is that you start to keep a keyword map. So you start to have a keyword map of primary words and secondary words so that you can, I call them your glitter words, that you can take them, sprinkle them in for SEO. And of course, using ChatGPT is super helpful. So let's talk about font sizes, your heading hierarchies, and readability, including skimmability, because Google now does like your content to be skimmable as well. A website will look off and it'll be harder to read if your headings are random sizes, if your body font changes style and sizes between pages, and there's no consistency between headings, subheadings, fonts, everything's just changing size the whole time. It looks like a mismatch. So you want the basic rules for yourself or for your virtual assistant or marketing manager to be H1 is the largest. It could be in bold, and you might want 1 per page. H2 is smaller than H1 and it's used for main sections. And then H3 is used for subpoints under H2. And then your body text is a consistent size, usually 14 to 18 px. And you want to make sure that your line spacing across the entire site is matches. I like a bigger font because even with my glasses, if your ideal client is older and they're going to be on a mobile, you want to make sure that your font is readable, even if they don't have their glasses with them. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if your ideal client, I mean, how many times are you trying to look at something and you don't have your glasses? So you just want to make sure it's at a better font. So where do you adjust this? Well, in WordPress, you do it in your, if you've got a theme builder like Elementor, but if you're using something like OBM Hub, you would be checking it inside your website or funnel builders. You would be making sure that your H1s, H2, and H3s are all set. You also want to make sure that you're setting the URL slugs. So the URL slugs is online business marketing / blog / 5 website fixes is your slug. So you want to make sure that the slug reflects those keywords as well. All right, so now fix 2. How do you optimize your on-page offers and your call to actions? So now that you've got like your SEO focus and your goal, you now need to look at the offers and your call to actions to make sure that when your ideal customer gets there, they can act without it being overwhelming. So they're not getting confused, but they're building know, like, and trust. They're getting nurtured and they're getting moved from one step to the next without being overwhelmed or confused. So every key page should have one primary call to action and then a few, not a lot, of smaller supporting micro call to actions. So for example, primary call to actions might be book a discovery call, request a quote, book your first session, add to cart, buy now. But supporting call to actions might be read client stories, watch this 3-minute explainer, learn how our process works. So where do you place these call to actions on the page? Well, firstly, the hero section, which is the top part of the page, you want to make sure that on that hero section, you do have a primary call to action straight away. So you'll have your heading, you'll have your subheading, and you'll have your primary call to action, right? So that it's very easy and it's all at the top of the page. And we want it visible above the fold. So important to look at it in different devices. Then mid-page, you want to make sure you've got other key sections like benefits, social proof, and more primary call to actions. And then near the bottom, you want to then start sprinkling in those secondary actions like not ready to book, download this guide instead. unsure, look at our testimonials. So the rule of thumb is 1 primary call to action per page, 1 to 2 secondary call to actions per URL. But you want to make sure it is moving people closer to working with you, buying from you, or downloading a lead magnet. Okay, so the next question is, should call to actions open up in a new tab? So if it's things like booking a call, filling out an inquiry form, downloading a lead magnet, or viewing a product, it's better for it to open in the same tab because we're moving them from the discovery stage to the buying stage. However, if we look having them move to external resources like look at my testimonials or have a look at this webinar, what we want to do instead is open it up on another page, on another browser. All right, so just reminding you, using Google Analytics to track which call to actions work better. And I like to mix up the language as well. So if you're unsure, there is another blog called Call to Actions, and it is in onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au/blog/type in call to actions. It should come up. And it discusses how the language is really important. So the language will help to move them from inquiring to taking their next step. And Google Analytics will help you to determine which language or which button is doing better than the others. You can also, of course, A/B test. All right, so fix 3. Update your lead magnets and hooks for 2026 buyers. Okay, what does this mean? Well, the buyer at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, and throughout 25 may not have the same pain and aspirations at the end of 25 as they go into 26. Maybe you've noticed their language has changed. Maybe, and I'm going to use Belinda as an example here, the word of 2025 would have been situationship, and everyone knows about getting into a situationship, oh, Drew, kiss me, bye. So, it is a word, but as they come into 2026, maybe the word situationship is, I don't know, cringy, and now it's not worth it. I mean, remember when the word cringy was cool and now the word cringy is cringy? So the thing is to look at, is the lead magnet, the hook, the language, is it still relevant to your buyer in 2026? So we're talking about the title, the lead magnet, the hook. All right. Do you need to just change some of that language? You don't even have to change your whole lead magnet. You may just have to change those headings and those titles and just upgrade them a little bit. So your lead magnets should address the pain point of your current customer as they're going into 2026. It should speak in the ideal client's actual language. So the language they use. And it may be their jargon. All right, but it's got to be their jargon, not your jargon. So if we use fancy language, so for example, there was a massage therapist, a myotherapist who insisted she be called a myotherapist, but we all know people search for massage therapist or remedial massage therapist, not myotherapist. So it is important we're not using the words that you like, but the words that your ideal client is using. And then it should also be filtering the right people. So it should be qualifying and disqualifying the right people. So your lead magnet titles and hooks and language should actually be getting the wrong people to not subscribe or unsubscribe. We don't want them. We want it to qualify the right people. And then we want to qualify those right people and we want to lead them into the paid offers or service. Templates, scripts, short videos, audio trainings, quizzes, assessments, discount codes for e-commerce businesses. If you were to have something like a WordPress website or a Wix website, hopefully my internet's going to be good. You can go into the opt-in sections as well, have a look at the language and just make sure that you've updated the language in those buttons. You also want to make sure as well that in your blog posts, and I cannot say this enough, but in your blog posts, you have got to have, I like 3 call to actions. And one is taking them to a lead magnet, the other one is taking them to a buy, and the other one is taking them to like a book call, like a book a call or something like that. So we want them to be lead capturing. So at the end of every single blog needs to be lead captures. So even if we hand out a top tip or a blog to a prospect, at the end of it, it still says, hey, do you want to work with me? Or do you want another free resource? Right? So we can continue to build know, like, and trust. Right, so using those real phrases is incredibly important for those hooks and those headings. The hook has to stop the right person from scrolling. It has to catch them and keep them and get them reading on. All right, so why does this help with lead generation? Because this whole thing is about your website and lead generation. Well, it has to, your lead magnets have got to meet your audience where they are right now. And it may not be where they were when you first built your site. You might have built your website 3 years ago and your audience may have changed, their language may have changed, those hooks may not work anymore. Another way to have a look at it is go and have a look at your lead magnets and go, which are the ones that have done well? Don't change those. Maybe get more traffic to them. And when I say done well means they've actually converted. But what are the lead magnets that have done poorly? Maybe they need a name change, or maybe you didn't send traffic to them. So you've got to ask yourself that question as well. All right, so fix number 4. Every lead magnet then needs a strategic nurture sequence. And for us, I feel like we're always doing this, going over our nurture sequences to optimize them. And how do we do that? Well, we have a look at the nurture sequence and we go, where are people unsubscribing? Where are people clicking on links to actually book calls? Because book calls are working, opting out, maybe not working if they're not the ideal client. So we're constantly looking at where in the strategic nurture sequences are we getting the best results and where we're getting the worst results and what can we do about it. So if you've got something like our high level product, OBM Hub, it's really easy. You've got website and funnel pages and forms and surveys and email marketing and SMS reminders that you can all plug in. But many of you may have things, like Active Campaign or other email sequences that you may be using. You just have to make sure that whatever you're using, you're monitoring, right, for that. So when it comes to those nurture sequences, you want to make sure that it meets the industry standards and also the audience's rhythm when it comes to your nurture timing. So, for example, people might wait may wait 1 day, may wait 3 days. It really does have to make sense to the ideal person that's getting it. You don't want to bother them by sending them an email every single day, but you don't want to send it a month apart and then they've forgotten who you are, right? So for high urgency offers, meaning that you've got acute pain, urgent support, e-commerce discounts, you want shorter gaps. So it might even be a few hours or a few days between emails. But for high trust, long decision offers like therapy or coaching or high ticket programs, you may be looking at more like 2 to 4 days between emails to give them space and to not feel pushy. So for our audience that are watching today, we're actually I'm going to give you a template of, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. I'm going to give you, for those of you who are watching today, I'm going to give you the email sequence. So email 1, email 2, email 3, email 4, email 5. So it's a 5 email sequence. Usually we do a 3 email sequence for lead magnet funnels if they're small. If they are big ones and we actually want them to convert via email, they can be nurture sequences that go up to 20 emails. The other thing that we do as well is that if somebody's in a nurture sequence, we take them out of promotional emails because you don't want promotional emails coming on top of nurture sequences because you might be promoting sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but the nurture sequence that they're in might be promoting flowers and flowers and butterflies. So you just want to make sure that they're not getting doubled up. The other problem we have is that some people, when they go to our website, might download 5 lead magnets all in one day, which means they think that we're pestering them because they're going through 5 different automations. So what we do is we end the automations and we send them through one of the automations. We don't send them through 5. And you can set that up in the back of your email marketing. So I'll go over it briefly here, but email 1, is really straight away, and it's all about delivery and giving them a quick win. So a piece of advice, something that they can action straight away and deliver them the resource. Email 2 is a story, and it's going to be it's all about being relevant to them, and it needs a relatively short wait time. We don't want them to forget about you in that time. Email 3 is authority and education. So you want to teach them something useful and position yourself as the expert. Email 4 is handling any objections, frequently asked questions, or giving proof. So it's about addressing common problems. And email 5 is a harder sell one, which is more a clear invitation and next step. So the next step is really obvious about what you can do, what your offer is, and at the end of that nurture sequence as well. Something else that I like to do is I really like to remind them that you recently downloaded, and I put the heading in. So I like to do that, and I like to mention something in the lead magnet so it actually makes them go and open it and look at it. Because if they don't open it and don't look at it, you've lost them. So number 5 is about improving the desktop and mobile experience. And that is really around page speed, trust signals, and really also updating your year from 2025 to 2026 in the content. So things with mobile experience and page speed, you can make sure, I always say to my VAs, please don't give me anything unless it's been checked on a mobile first. So you can look at it from a desk view, you can look at it from a mobile view. You want to make sure that you're running your speed tests, so page speed tests, or other insights. You want to make sure you're compressing large images, that you're getting rid of unused plugins or scripts, and you're adding alt text using plain language and relevant keywords. You also want to make sure that your trust signals are in there, so that you've got testimonials, you've got logos, you've got badges like Australian owned, money back guarantee, over 300 reviews, secure checkout, which make visitors feel like it's safe to buy. And also you can have the little URL up at the top as well to show that a secure URL as well. So purchasing a secure URL for the website, which means people feel safe to purchase. And then the last and most important thing is changing that 2025 to 2026. So you want to make sure that you are now, talking about the right year, so it's not the wrong year. And I have done that before, so that is definitely part of what we do. You might also want to relook at some of the blogs that you've done as well. Our blogs, I like to mention the date because, for example, what's happening on Facebook in 2022 may not be happening in Facebook in 2026. So I'll keep the date there. But for some of the content in that, it is evergreen. It applies to all times of the year, which means I don't really need to use the 2025 or 2026. I don't need to be specific. So some places to check might be the headings and the hero images as well. So you might have put 2025 in some images, so you might need to remove it from images as well as from the content. For example, the lead magnet, we did this. We had a 2025 content planning template, and now we've got to update it to 2026 for our lead magnets. Any webinar titles that you might be changing, your website footer. So in the website footer, you should have a copyright 2025 in the footer. You have to update that to copyright 2026. And anywhere it says this year, if it's any this year references, that will soon be out of date. So it's quite undermining when you go to a website and it says 2023 and you're now in 2026. So you want to make sure that you've been across everything and just had a quick squiz. And that's why we're doing this right now, right? So don't let 2025 end with a pretty but pointless website. And make sure that you go through those 5 fixes. It's a great time. It's a great time of the year to do it, as I said, because your head is not cluttered and you're not as busy. So you actually have the mind space to go through and do things like edit pages and check pages and check for relevancy. So yeah, it's a great task for you guys to be doing. So for those of you watching on YouTube, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe and turn on your notifications. If you'd like to leave a comment below as well or ask a question, please feel free to do so. In order to be part of the live audience, simply click into the comments below and you'll get all the information there. For our live audience now, we're going to go through and we're going to talk about some of the rocks and some of the takeaways and action steps that we're going to apply based on this content.